First of all, Councilman Graham, I want to commend you for the passion that you displayed earlier today with the families that came before you, and I can see just from sitting here today that you can listen to the voice of reason. That's why I came to speak to you, and I'm sorry that I didn't make any testimony. I wrote down some things as I was sitting over there earlier, and what I want to say to you basically, in a very general sense, is that if we do have to look at the overarching principles that we incorporate as we try to end homelessness, because from what I see, a lot of what we do is really just taking a shot in the dark and not comprehensively addressing the issue. Well, I want to point out that there is the Emory Workbed Shelter, where homeless men have been living and working for 2 and 3 years and haven't been able to get out. And I'm sure we all know that it's because they make $9, $10, $11 an hour, whereas here in the district you have to make about $25 or $30 an hour in order to live here, you know, and so we're trading people for jobs that will not enable them to live in a district, you know, and they'll always need some kind of assistance. And so I think that as we work to end homelessness, we do have to take all that into consideration. And also, I would like to meet with you very soon, within the next 3 weeks possibly, to talk about a new endeavor that I'm involved in, trying to bring the Dome home to DC. You can go to ericsheptock.com and see what it is. It is a fiberglass igloo, about 320 square feet, and it can be assembled for about $12,500, whereas it's my understanding that we spend in this city $28,000 per homeless person per year to house them. So for less than half of that, you can put them in this dome home on some plot of land and have these dome cities, if you will. And I know that this city is probably not going to be very amenable to that idea. I know you don't really want to invite any more poor folk into the city, you know, and you're trying to bring more of a tax base here and not invite too many more poor folk into the city. So we are kind of up against that kind of attitude, shall I say. But I also want to point out that the ICH, the Interagency Council on Homelessness, you know, they have all kinds of authority to do all kinds of different things to address homelessness. However, affordable housing doesn't fall within their purview, and that to me is rather idiotic. I mean, they have no capacity to create affordable housing, and I'll stop with this by saying that the lack of affordable housing is the primary reason for homelessness in this country, and so that makes it rather, shall I say, incompetent for you not to have to give them some capacity to create affordable housing for those who can work and who can pay some percentage of their income toward a place. And I'll stop there.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate all of your advocacy. There was a wonderful article about you, by the way, which I read. Did you like the article or not like the article?
Well, it had some good things, some bad things, but it gave me 8,000 online contacts between Facebook and Twitter.
Well, I know you're extremely dedicated to the internet and to technology, but I thought it was a very fine article, and you know, you have to take all parts of it at one time, you know. But I congratulate you on that, because you've called a lot of very constructive attention to these issues.
And hopefully that will lead to some very comprehensive solutions to homelessness in this city. And I will point out that there's an ever-increasing number of homeless. That there was 5,757 in 07, and in 2010 it was 6,539. That's a 14% increase in 3 years, and so we got to do something to get people housed as quickly as they're becoming homeless.
Well, we go to Denise Gibson.
Hello, my name is Denise Gibson, and I'm here today to testify about being homeless and searching for housing. First, I applied for housing in 2006. Emancipated from out the system when I was 21. I was awarded the state. And I've been homeless ever since. Like, I'm not sure how a person went, but I'm pretty sure that they supposed to have gave me somewhere to stay instead of just letting me go. So since 2006, I've just been like a nomad, like traveling place to place without a home. And I have things in my storage room, and some nights I stay in my storage, and some nights I ask my mom if I can stay with her. My daughter was removed from me for being unstable, for not having anywhere to go. And since December 22nd of last year, I've been in the program Virginia Williams, and I haven't been getting any help. They just, like they told the other young ladies, that if it's not hypothermia or if there's no room at the shelters, they can't place us, and they try to call our relatives and see if we can stay there with them, but it's like no hope. Some nights I stay like at the Greyhound, like I'm waiting for a bus or something like that, so you know, they won't try to pull me out the station. Some nights I do stay at a hotel because I also do get TANF, but with that, I pay my storage bill and get things for my son like Pampers and things like that. So right now it's just like, it's very hard. I just been looking for housing. My mom is supportive, but like she only lives in a 1-bedroom, and I can't sleep on the floor with my son, so I just been like looking for places to go. The people that work at Virginia Williams is very rude. Like they don't want to help people. Like they didn't bother to put us in hotels or anything. Just like give us bus tokens, like this young lady said, and just send us off. And it's very difficult. It's very difficult looking for housing and staying out in the street with my newborn. And I just had him last month, and my brother Antonio Gibson told me about the legal aid for the homeless, so that was my last resort. And right now it's just like, this is Jermaine for my son, and I just don't know where else to go. But Virginia Williams is no help for any of us. Like all these young ladies, they all in the same program. The shelter hotline, they refer you to Virginia Williams because it's a family shelter. And when I was pregnant, they kept turning me away like, oh, you're a single mother, you're not a mother yet, your son not here. So they couldn't help me when I was pregnant, and they can't help me now that my son's here.
Ms. Gibson, where are you living now?
Right now, like I said, like last night I stayed at the Greyhound bus terminal. Like some nights.
Are you the young lady that Mr. McNeely
yes, that Mr.
spoke about earlier?
Brought me to you, and I appreciate your time for letting me come up and talk.
So you went to see him this morning?
Yes.
And you were in the Greyhound bus station last night?
Yes.
And is this your son?
Yes.
And what is your son's name?
His name is Nico Grant.
Nico?
Grant.
Grant. And how old is Nico?
He's 1 month.
1 month old.
Mm-hmm.
And where was he born?
Washington Hospital Center.
Washington Hospital Center.
Yes, and they're currently sending me bills. Like I thought my Medicaid will cover, will cover me, but I guess not.
And how long were you in the hospital with this birth?
2 days.
2 days. And so what was the date of his birth?
February 10th.
February 10th.
Yes, 4:45.
And where have you been living since February the 12th?
Sometimes I go into my mother's apartment building like that and stay in there.
Do you go into your mother's apartment?
No, I go like in the building because it's like she says, no security or things like that, so it's easy for us to stay there.
And where do you go in the building?
So I go in the stairwell, or some like during the daytime, like I be going to like the library, things like that. But at night, that's where I usually go.
But where do you go in the
storage building? Like I said, on the stairwell, no one's there.
Okay.
So I had my bags with me, like, cause Virginia Williams, they supposed to like place you. So I went there with my bags or whatever, and they turned me.
How many times have you been to Virginia Williams?
Probably about 6 times.
6 times? And what have they done for you there?
The only thing they really done was probably call, like, they call Catholic charities, missionary charities, and they just call places. That's basically it, and just send me off with tokens, like this young lady said.
Send you off with tokens?
Yeah, like, we could just give you transportation.
Is this 6 times since Nico was born?
Yes, I was pregnant.
6 times since, when you were pregnant you
Yes.
went as well.
And then when I had him, it's been twice.
So
I just was there yesterday, sitting in the office all day yesterday.
You sat in the office all day yesterday at Virginia Williams. Who helped you yesterday?
Miss Croft.
Miss Croft.
Yes, but she really didn't help, because when I went back to her office, she was like, it was no point in me coming back there, because she already told me that if it's not hypothermia, they can't do anything. No emergency placement. So
You went to Virginia Williams yesterday with a baby where you've been sleeping in a stairwell and in a bus station,
in my
and you spoke to Miss Croft, and there was nothing she could do?
Nothing at all. But tell me.
Let me ask you to take a seat back. What is your name?
Charmaine.
Charmaine, let me ask the director to come forward. Director Carroll, this is unusual, but this is so, these last 2 stories are so upsetting to me that there's something I've got to hear from you at this point. Because you've heard, and forgive me because the order is a little bit out of place, you've heard Tanisha Duvall and you've heard Denise Gibson describe their situation. I mean, what is wrong with Virginia Williams and the people who are working there that they cannot find an emergency placement for this woman and their children? Now, Miss Duvall, you are at DC General. But where are you going to sleep tonight, Miss
I probably was
Gibson?
going to probably go to my storage, but my mom, she probably let me stay, I guess.
Director Carroll, we have to have a response from you on these issues. Can you speak into the microphone, because there's something very wrong. You have to pull the microphone towards you.
Thanks.
There's something very wrong here, something exceedingly wrong. I mean, this little boy, Nico, I don't know, has he ever been in a bed? Why don't you take one microphone and let Director Carroll have the other? See, there are 2 microphones we can use. Has he ever slept in a bed or a crib?
I mean, his bassinet just probably like once or twice.
Since he's been born.
But usually it's in my arms, though.
Would you like me to respond now?
I want a response from the Department of Human Services as to what we're doing in a situation like this.
I think what we would have to do is investigate each individual case. The key facts that I've heard throughout is that in some cases, the days were not hypothermia days or nights. And right now, at least during hypothermia season, we have an obligation to house any participant that meets the definition of homelessness. And so it's going to be on a case-by-case basis as to whether or not I can respond to each individual circumstances and whether or not Virginia Williams acted appropriately based on that information. Generally speaking, though, as you know, the Family Services Administration budget through the Community Partnership for the Prevention of Homelessness is limited right now during hypothermia season, and they're legally obligated to house individuals and families during that time period. Because of the limitations that we have in the budget, we do not have a year-round shelter placement. And unfortunately, a lot of the other transitional and temporary housing programs that are available for families are full. So we're going to have to look at each individual case and determine in each case, based on the days that they were there, whether or not they were inappropriately denied shelter at that time.
But I just, Director Carroll, I just cannot believe that a proper case management system functioning appropriately could not have found some response to this situation in this city. And all of the agencies that we have that are working, I mean, and I know it's difficult to determine which are the most compelling cases, but by any standard, I would consider Ms. Gibson to be among the most compelling cases. I mean, it should be a priority one case. It should be a situation where a hotel should be made available to her. The city is not that hard up, and neither is the Department of Human Services, where this can be tolerated.
Well, we'll see.
And I'm sorry. I mean, there are just limits to the amount of patience that one can have with this situation. I mean, this little boy has basically not been asleep for a month, and I'm not going to be part of any D.C. government that results in this kind of
Right.
treatment, and you don't want to either.
No,
And
I
I'm
certainly understand,
I'm not,
sir.
but there should have been a case management outreach. There are churches, there are nonprofits, there are other things to do, but I don't think that the people of Virginia Williams are making any real effort. If they're making any real effort, I am not seeing it. And keep in mind that for 15 years, I was the executive director of the Whitman Walker Clinic, and we had all manner of people show up on our doorstep who were homeless and sick, and we found ways to respond. And I'm not feeling that same kind of energy coming out of Virginia Williams. Who is the director of Virginia Williams today? I want them at my next hearing, here, because they should be answering these ladies, not me, and really not you. Because this is the type, I mean, I'm very angry at this. And I know that Miss Pat Handy has just left the room. I don't know why, because her name has been mentioned as somebody who has had, well, how did you describe your reaction from Pat Handy? Rude. So anyway, I want something better out of the Department of Human Services than this. And you can't tell me that an active case management effort wouldn't have produced something. But to send this woman to the stairwell of her mother's apartment, or to send her to the Greyhound bus station, is just not what we want to hear.
No, I certainly agree with that.
All right. So I want accountability from these employees. One of the things I absolutely demand from the D.C. government is that when people don't behave appropriately, that they're held accountable for their behaviors.
Okay.
And you have Ms. Croft has been mentioned, Pat Handy has been mentioned. I want to know what their behaviors were, what their performance was in these situations.
We have, within the Office of Accountability, the Homeless Services Monitoring Unit, and we'll have them investigate each of the allegations and report back to the council.
Right, I mean, we need on-site supervision. I mean, somebody at Virginia Williams, and if I was Virginia Williams right now, I know Virginia Williams. If she's listening to this hearing, if I were her, I'd say, please remove my name from this office, if this is an example of what's being done in her name, and she is the mother of the former mayor of the District of Columbia. But I think we need some on-site supervision. I think we need to know what the director of the center is doing with people like Miss Gibson sitting in the waiting room. Right. I mean, does she come out of her office? Does she talk to people? Does she look and see what's under her very nose? Does she?
I would think that she does. I know she's called me on a number of occasions for different things.
Well, I appreciate you coming out of order like this, but and the next thing I want you to do is I want you to take, well, you are D.C. General. We don't know for how long, but you're a D.C. General, so that's good news. But Miss Director Carroll, I want you to meet now with Ms. Gibson.
Sure.
Pardon me? What is the name of the director of Virginia Williams?
Her name is Jean Hunter.
Can you speak up, please?
Amanda, excuse me? Yeah, it's Jean Hunter.
Jean Hunter.
Hunter.
Is that a woman?
Yes.
Because Jean can be a man's name, too. All right. Well, I hope she's listening to this hearing. Do you think she's paying any attention?
Hopefully she's running the center.
Well, hopefully she is, and hopefully there's not another Ms. Gibson sitting in the waiting room right now. Because if there is, she ought to get out of her office and get into the waiting room and figure out what an aggressive and creative case management process can produce.
Will do.
And this ain't it. This is not it. I mean, I know firsthand this is not it. So will you meet, Ms. Gibson, will you meet with Director Carroll now?
Yes.
So that we can figure out what to do with your immediate situation?
Yes, sir.
Like today?
Sure.
All right, thank you.